and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have a new mysterious case which I proposed to you on social media because I was following this controversy very closely, and you said please, we want to know everything with the investigation that you normally do. So I decided to do it. This case surrounds Balenciaga, Adidas, and the campaign they put alive. For I think that many of us don't know that there are many things behind that, which are more shocking than we think. But anyway, before we begin, don't forget to follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a new video. Don't forget to also follow me on Twitch, for I'm constantly creating content. Okay, without anything else to say, let's begin. The case of Balenciaga. Well, let's start with this case. What I want to is to contextualize you as always. I think there may be a lot of people here that don't even know what I'm talking about. Who is Balenciaga or what is Balenciaga? Or maybe you've heard about it but you don't know much about it. Balenciaga is basically a fashion house, a fashion company that could be deemed high couture, and it was created in 1917 by Cristobal Balenciaga in San Sebastian, Spain. When he created, the company slowly expanded to other cities like Madrid and Barcelona. In that time, even the royal family wore the Balenciaga designs, for it was like a very specific style they really liked. Looking back, it truly was really pretty. I feel that it was a very different style for that epoch, but at the same time included the epoch. Somehow, it was quite particular but very attractive. However, when the Spanish Civil War started, this didn't work anymore and they had to close the stores. But sometime later, the Balenciaga store moved to Paris, and that's when everything started being a complete success. Cristobal Balenciaga remained at the helm until 1968 when he retired from the brand. And that's when the brand started having different people as owners, and the ones that acquired the brand changed the designs. This generates a lot of instability, like now it's a famous brand, then not so much, then comes another person and saves it again, and so there are many ups and downs. The brand starts falling again in the 2000s, but then in 2016 a man called Demna ends up being in charge of the company until now. After 53 years, the high couture status comes back again to the company, for it varied a lot during a lot of time. And it's just after Cristobal steps down, when Demna takes over, that the company is registered as high couture again. Obviously, many famous designers work with them. Even during the prior 50 years, they had different designers working with them who eventually founded their own houses, such as Oscar de la Renta, Emmanuel Ungaro, and even Hubert de Givenchy. This is for you to know a little about this brand's context until now. Obviously, during these last few years, it has been getting stronger and it has reclaimed its spot as one of the most known in the high couture market, specifically because they've done a good marketing job through different celebrities and influencers that have become a part of the brand, such as Kanye West and Kim Kardashian, who have promoted this brand and even been the face of it. But anyway, now I think we all know a little more about Balenciaga. Surely you've also seen many of its designs in 888, counterfeits, or maybe you've seen the tennis shoes, which are the most famous ones, the ones that made them very renowned, and you've surely seen some of it sometime. Now we want us to start talking about what really happened with the brand, because it was something very serious and so far it has gotten a lot of media coverage, but there's also so many doubts still. Generally, the brands launch collections every so often. Balenciaga did exactly the same some months or weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. the Paris Fashion Week was held. This is a very important annual event where the biggest brands get together and each one organizes different runways to show off some of their designs. Later, we'll talk about the Balenciaga runway because it's something very important too. But basically, after that runway, they launched something called Balenciaga Objects. Balenciaga Objects was a collection of, as its name implies, objects they created specifically to sell on the Balenciaga gift shop. And it was something a little more unusual than what they normally did. It wasn't clothes or tennis shoes, but more like accessories, home stuff, and even things for children. For that photo shoot, or well, for the promotion of those objects, Balenciaga hires a man called Gabriele Galimberti. This is a fashion photographer of some renown, among other things, especially because he had some photo shoot called Toy Series, in which he took photos of children with their favorite toys. Those were very chill photo shoots. I mean, they look very normal, to be honest. And he did many other collabs with other brands. Balenciaga saw his photos and decided they wanted to do something very similar to promote their new stuff. They took the photos, they upload the collection, but literally the same day that the information is uploaded, you know how we are on the internet, we don't miss anything. Basically, a Twitter user posted a tweet saying there was something very odd and particular about the Balenciaga new campaign. These are the photos. I'm covering the children's faces so we don't have problems. But basically, as you can see, it's a girl holding a teddy bear bag and there are many things surrounding her. All the photos are like that. Some with teddy bears, some without, but people started noticing that there were many things that simply shouldn't be in that photos that had the children as protagonists. For example, one of the most curious things and what raised more flags was that she was holding a teddy bear with a BDSM or bondage style. Basically, these bondage styles are used by adults for these letters literally mean bondage, discipline, domination, submission, sadism, and masochism. Those are things completely related to, well, this type you know. Clearly, there are many things that don't fit there. Also, in some other photos of these children, they're with objects that children wouldn't use. Wine glasses an adult would use, alcohol, and there's also some very odd drawings. So this controversy starts off very strongly for people ask why are they putting children with adults' objects. That's when the controversy begins, and the first thing that Balenciaga does, obviously, is erase the photos completely from their web. Instead, they start posting photos from another session they did in collaboration with Adidas, for Balenciaga launch a new collection with Adidas. And that's when they go even deeper into the mud. This is a collection called Garderobe 2023 and it was starred by some very famous models like Bella Hadid, Isabel Hopper and Nicole Kidman. In one of these photos they paused, people saw it casually, they saw the bags, a woman in an office, but as I tell you again, the internet is very thorough, especially when they have already done something wrong in the other photos. So people start detailing more these new ones and they found two very interesting things. One photo which had a lot of sheets of paper everywhere, a bag, which was a collaboration with Adidas, had some papers that couldn't be really read. However, one of the ones that could be read clearly was a copy of one of the pages from a sentence of the US Supreme Court from 2002. It was from a case called US versus Williams. This was a very renowned case back then because basically a man wanted for them to rethink the laws that punish people that promoted or did similar things related to I hope you understood so this video doesn't get restricted from YouTube. With that kind of things related to children. He said that it was freedom of speech and basically during that time he fought hard so these laws would be removed and that could have more freedom. But obviously, as you and surely many more think, that's not even possible. That's an idea from a person that without a doubt had some serious mental issues. And basically those pages that could be read next to the back were about the ruling of the Supreme Court regarding that decision. What happened specifically with that man? That man was Michael Williams, and he was sentenced, he was accused of possession of that, and in that moment he even blackmailed one of the undercover agents, saying he had photos of his daughter and he was going to publish them. In itself, that was a fight of even bigger topics, but it's very odd that it was partly related to the problem they had with the other photos. If you think about it, there are many odd things in the photos with the children, with those adult elements, and then it appears in another photo a page of this sentence that regards some very similar topics. Besides that, in the picture of her in the office with the legs on the desk, people also saw a lot of things. They found that the books from the background are by one specific author. If you look in the background, there's a book by an author called Michael Boromans. I don't know if I say that name right. And that's a man who had some work called Fire from the Sun. Here in the video, I can't include any of the photos from this work this man did. I don't know if that's art or not, because YouTube could take down the video, so I can't show you, but you can search it. If you're going to search for it, please be aware of what you're going to see, because it's not a nice thing. Michael Boromans does some kind of art, drawings and paintings for this Fire from the Sun thing, where there are very explicit things, photos or drawings of children in very awful and terrible situations. I mean, like mutilated, there is a lot of blood, and there's a lot of things I can't describe in detail, but you can search and see them, but it's all very shocking. I mean, the fact that in that photo there's also the work of a man that obviously doesn't mind painting children in those awful states and situations. So obviously this makes the controversy worse. The only thing that Balenciaga does is delete the photos again. I mean, if you search for them, you won't find them. Obviously, the internet isn't forgiving, the screenshots exist, and many people had already downloaded this information. So many of them start analyzing some things in the photos. For example, there's one in particular, also from the ones they had uploaded before from the gifts collection, that shows a boy dressed all in black, all Balenciaga, obviously, but there are some tapes which are like the famous Balenciaga tape that shouldn't be there. Also, if you examine the walls, there are some very disturbing drawings. Among them, there was a black bird drawing, and many people caught the symbolism. This black bird, or uzel as some call it, spiritually represents the temptation and sin. And people say that it's related to the devil when it's drawn like that. For many, that uzel means wickedness and darkness, and its fullest. It's even said that in the Bible, it's exactly like the representation of Satan to tempt the humans. So there are people that, for example, saw that in that drawing, which I find very particular and disturbing. If you look at the walls in general, you can see there's a lot of disruption there. Sometimes they say that there's like a drawing of a demon inside a cave in the back wall. There's also the teddy bear with this bondage aesthetic, which has nothing to do with children. And also in all the photos we see of this campaign, the children don't look like posing, "Hey, cool." No. The children really have like trauma faces. If you see them, they really look like if they were scared. They look really scared. I don't know, like it's just not a normal photo. And so the questioning on social media obviously starts with people saying, so what's happening with Balenciaga? What are they thinking? This is something that neither for fashion nor for ethics has any justification. The curious thing about this is that the brand deleted the photos completely. They ended up hiding all the posts on their Instagram accounts and didn't come forward to say anything. I think they took like 3 days to post an official statement. Obviously, after the controversy has gotten really big, they decided to speak and they say this. "We sincerely apologize for any offense our Christmas campaign may have caused. Our teddy bear bags shouldn't have appeared with children in this campaign. We've retired effective immediately the campaign from all platforms." They also apologize for showing the documents I told you about next to the back and all of that, which were very disrupting things and things related to you know what of children. We're taking this matter very seriously and we're undertaking legal actions against all the parties responsible for creating the set and including non-approved elements for our Spring 23 photoshoot campaign. We strongly condemn child abuse in any of its forms. We defend the safety and well-being of our children. However, there are many things to say here. There are many subliminal messages that people have noticed in the photos. For example, in the first photo I show you of the girl with the teddy bear has like a padlock as a color. You saw that clearly. And in one of the photos, some people were able to screenshot, there was a man with a key in his pinky finger. I mean, like he could open that teddy bear's padlock in some way. It's like there are many odd things behind all this campaign. After this, the debate was opened and the people started wondering about Balenciaga's CEO, about who shot the pictures, about who was the director behind all of this. They look for the responsible parties everywhere, and let's say that one of the important first steps that Balenciaga did was sue the company that took the photo shoot. This company is called North 6 Incorporated, and the scenographer for that shoot was Nicolas Desjardins. On the other hand, there's already Gabriel Galimberti, which I already told you was the one that took the pictures. He was the photographer and he worked on many things. And he also stepped forward talking about this and he said, as a photographer, I was only allowed to light the given scene and take the pictures according to my characteristic style. As is usual in an advertising photo shoot, the campaign direction and the election of the objects portrayed is not in the hands of the photographer. So the controversy grew even bigger after this. I agree with some things and it's impossible, absolutely unrealistic and impossible. Any person that works in the fashion industry, in an office or industry, knows that it's completely impossible for a campaign this big to come out without several people approving. I can tell you, and I'm just an influencer, which is nothing compared to Balenciaga. When we work on campaigns, we have to send them beforehand for the clients to approve them before we post them. So it's completely unrealistic for Balenciaga not to have seen the pictures and not to have said, no, this is wrong, or yes, this is bad. I mean, it's completely impossible that nobody from the brand knew that this was coming out. So here the controversy grows because the people are saying, well, they're pinning everything on the photographer and the people on set, when they themselves say they were people from Balenciaga helping that day on the set. So it's completely unrealistic for the brand to come out and say that they didn't do anything, that they don't know who is responsible. Especially a brand like Balenciaga has many filters in their advertising system, for they can't publish just about anything, so they had to have had the approval of one of the directives, or if not, of the CEO, Demna, that I already told you who he is. I don't completely defend the photographer and the people on set, because they took the photos, they saw the elements, and at any time they could have said, this is wrong. But some people say that they say, and this may be true, for I'm not in that industry, I don't know a lot, you tell me if someone of you know, but basically they can't say anything like, I don't like this, or yes, I like this, for their jobs depend on that. I mean, they get hired to do something specific, and they can't say, hey, I don't agree with this, or I do agree with this, for they are not the ones making the decision and that's a job they have to do no matter what. But here we're going to talk a little bit about the people who are involved in this scandal. For everything I told you, this Gabriel, who was the person who took the photos, already had a background of having taken photos of children, but he didn't had any problem. Everything looked good. They weren't any adult objects with the children, but some people obviously dug into his past on social media, and they found a tweet from July in which this man said this: why restrict, and you know the word, and not guns? This is also very controversial. I mean, how can you compare guns with the circulation of these kinds of images of children? It doesn't make any sense. So there are many questions about this man and about his perspective on life. On the other hand, the photographing company, which are the ones who created the set, spoke and said, the Balenciaga representatives were present during the whole shoot, supervising and managing papers and accessories, and Desjardins, which was the set scenographer, wasn't responsible for the images selection. He didn't contribute creatively nor had any control over the shoot because he wasn't on set. This regarding other people from the producer company. So they're defending themselves on that front. But even one person that's working now with Demna, whose name is Olga Liriano, she's a person that also worked for a lot of time in the fashion industry, and she declared, for she even worked for Balenciaga, she said it's completely impossible for that not to have gone through the CEO. He had to have approved them. I mean, as I've told you, it's completely impossible for this not to have been supervised by anyone from the brand. And many started to also criticize this man, Demna, which is now the head of Balenciaga, and I agree with them on many things. A lot of people talk about him, and I'm going to tell you broadly about the life of this man so you can understand why they criticize him. Demna Gvasalia, which is now the owner or head of Balenciaga, is a man that I think that, like any other, tried to exploit his talents from a very, very young age. At first, he studied economy, but eventually he saw that art was what he wanted, so he slowly got into the fashion world. I swear this is a very similar story to the Devil's Wears Prada one. He claimed and claimed and claimed, working with big brands until he finally gave a new style to Balenciaga and became the CEO. But the thing is that he became the person that managed to get Balenciaga out of that hole I told you about. And this obviously entailed some things, depending on who you are, but it's like some things in your mind start to change. So he begins thinking that he's better than many people at many things. And because he's so disruptive and does everything so differently, basically nobody criticizes him, they just congratulate him all the time. And when he does this, it's like it's a very difficult for him, according to what some people said, to accept the fact he did something wrong. Because he was never criticized back then, he doesn't have a limit anymore, and start falling for this kind of things. So many people think that he fell into the deep hole in which, for trying to be different and disruptive, the only thing he's doing is dragging down the brand again. For example, a person who worked a long time in the industry say the following regarding this topic. All those creative directors think they can walk over water and not make mistakes. Nobody tells them anything. They're afraid to do it. Now he's dragging the house down with him. He was one of the most elegant in the business, but now he has Balenciaga launching leather trash bags. Some say he was scared and some said he wasn't. He has not made a direct statement about the topic, only through the Balenciaga social media, but there are many doubts here about if he really feels bad or feels he did something wrong. For many people think he just made that decision and now he's hiding behind the photographers, the set designers, among other people, for not doing anything when he probably made some of the most important decisions about this photo shoot. And here's when the eyes look at another person who is very renowned in the industry and not many have talked about her. I found some Twitter threads and some TikToks about her. She's one of the best friends of this man and her name is Volkova. She was born in Vladivostok in Russia. Same as him, from a very young age, she became interested in fashion. She developed a very particular sense of fashion from a very young age. From the age of 17, she moves to London to study art and design. She began meeting people and getting into the fashion world. In 2007, she moves to Paris and starts working with big brands, supporting many of them and having a style that attracts them to her. They were people to define her. Lotta has a unique aesthetic which combines the different cultures in which she has lived with something modern. It's nostalgic but current. I think this is because Lotta is part of the scene and not someone who observed it from afar. She's part of the subculture of the club scene. She saw before anyone else that this combination is not good story to make, but the way to be. From there, she starts working with those brands, with big celebrities too, and begins working hand in hand with Demna and Balenciaga, especially when they were tied with Kanye West. But as soon as this controversy happened, people started to look for the accounts of these people. Who were they? What did they do? And by that time, her account was public. If you look for her now, her account is private. But there are people that having her as a friend or being already her followers started to post on Twitter some photos she posted, and it's very disturbing stuff, I must say. There's a picture where some people say it's her and some say it's not, of a woman completely painted in red with two babies painted in red, which looks like if they were bleeding. It's something very disturbing. She has a great amount of pictures of children with skulls in particular positions or suffering. She also has some pieces from a person called Gosha Rubshinsky. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but here's an artist and photographer that back then was accused of children and minors abuse. There are even some chats and things like that of this man and the denounces that were made, and she posted things about him. She even tagged him and replied messages with him. She has many posts of young people that we don't know how old they are exactly, but in truth they look like kids, and she even has a lot of posts in which other designers have replied to her. There's even one photo with children in which Marc Jacobs replies like very good. Besides that, she has a particular obsession with teddy bears. Here I'm showing you some pictures she has posted on her Instagram of her and other people with teddy bears, which actually look very alike to the ones Balenciaga used for the campaign. Her having a tendency to like children or not is unknown, but I feel that there are a lot of things on her profile that talk about this. And then the controversy happens, so there are many who say, well, she probably had something to do with this photo shoot. According to what people said, she sent an spoken person to talk to some newspapers from USA. They assure she hadn't worked with Balenciaga since 2018 and that she didn't help with any of their campaigns. And that for now hasn't been confirmed, but I feel like there are many details and things that come from her mind. Even though she doesn't work there anymore, I feel like her relationship with Demna helped him create this idea even if she wasn't on set. And I don't want to just say things or judge if I don't know anyone, but she has a very particular style. I feel like sometimes when people upload this kind of pictures or those very odd things, I feel like there is something inside them, that artistic way that they like that kind of stuff. And if those things were normal, everybody would like them. But I feel like not in all cases is normal to upload stuff like that. And here's when the people keep putting all these other pieces together. And as I've told you, I'm going to talk about the Balenciaga runway at the Fashion Week. They organized a runway, which surely you saw on TikTok or social media. If you didn't, I'll show you here some images while I'll tell you about it. This year, they said, they really did something innovative, which was a runway where the models were walking among mud. They model all the designs like that. And the music and the lighting was also very disruptive and strong. To be honest, I couldn't watch it all because I found it very disturbing. But that was the aesthetic of the runway. Obviously, that became a sensation because it wasn't normal to have a runway like that, with the models walking around in mud. But many people started to talk about it and think, what could that mean? Some revealed some details like the invitations the guests received, which was a Balenciaga wallet with documents of a real person with money and things like that, as if some person had lost their wallet. And let's say that the meeting point to return the wallet was the invitation, the date, the time, and the place of the runway. I find that very creative and very interesting, especially because many people say that Demna, the now owner of Balenciaga, always have that very creative aesthetics for invitations. Demna said he doesn't like to define his runways or to explain the reason why he did them or what the concept was. Some people just came to the same conclusions about what he may have tried to say with that runway. Some theories say that it represented what it was to live in planet Earth in the year 2023, for we're living in a completely shadowed world, especially for the climate change and the conflicts between humans. And maybe that's right. I feel that the reason why it gave me odd vibes, it's because it felt like something we are living. And according to people, the motto of the runway was to make love and not war. They represented that in a very strong way, but it may be that way or not. But regarding the runway, besides it's breaking all the standards compared to the normal runways of the fashion week. It also was the target of many critics because of some designs and other things. It was there where they showed the new Balenciaga objects. And some of the models walked with babies, with carriers, and also with bags. However, what's curious here is that there are some videos, which I'm showing you here, of some models before hitting the runway with these babies and bags. And you could see how some of the objects inside the bags seemed to be stained with blood. Many people didn't know if that was real, if those were real babies or not, but they say that they were hyper-realistic dolls. But this aesthetic, these dark and disturbing things, gets mixed again with children. So there are many doubts regarding why they did it that way, for maybe they had everything planned before the campaign was published. And here comes another very important factor in this scandal, which is that, as I've told you before, Balenciaga has had as ambassadors some very important people. The most influential were Kanye West and Kim Kardashian back then when they were a couple. Even Balenciaga and Adidas collaborated with Kanye West for the Yeezy brand, among other things. But not so long ago, there was an incident and Kanye West stopped working with them. That was some weeks after Fashion Week, for even Kanye opened the Balenciaga runway at the Fashion Week. He was the first one on the catwalk, but some weeks later they ended their relationship. Since October, Kanye started having some very particular scandals on social media. We all know he had some scandals and very strong mental health issues, but let's say that on October 3rd, he wore a shirt with the words "White Lives Matters." It's an opposition to the hashtag that was created after George Floyd and all the Black Lives Matters movement, because people don't have the same rights when they are black. So him being a black person and wearing a shirt that said White Lives Matters was activating the idea that racism it's fine. So that's when one of these men's scandals starts again. After that, he also starts accusing the CEO of some brands of having murdered one of his friends through Instagram when the friend he said he had been killed had really died because of cancer. Then he said that Adidas stole his dreams and designs for the Yeezy brand. He also starts campaigning in a very extremist way for the pro-life movement, and he even wore ultrasounds on his neck, saying there are more aborted black babies than born ones in New York City in this moment. 50% of the black death in the USA is because of abortions. To each their own with the pro-life movement or whatever, but the way he manifested regarding this was very out of proportion. He also uploads a YouTube video in which he shows an adult film to Adidas. Several people that work with him spoke and said while they were working for him, he started making comments supporting Hitler and all that stuff. He also starts doing some anti-Semitic things, and that's when Balenciaga and Adidas decide to cut ties with him surrounding all these scandals. They even post a statement that said Balenciaga doesn't have any current relationship, no future plans regarding Kanye West. However, after this scandal explodes, this man also talks. I'm going to show you a video in which he gave some statements regarding celebrities and the Balenciaga affair. He basically says that none of the celebrities have spoken about it, for they are controlled by the system and they can talk about that. In my opinion, I think there's something true in what he's saying, but also he has two polar opposites. He obviously has a diagnosed disorder, but it's very curious how all this is handled. However, we go here to the section of his ex-wife called Kim Kardashian. I think everybody knows who Kim Kardashian is. Basically, some very interesting TikToks started to appear, which may have something to do with all this that has happened. As I've told you, she is the main face of Balenciaga, and before this happened and even after, she has posted photos and she has participated in Balenciaga campaigns. She has even posted photos with her children on social media wearing very specific looks. For example, in the 2021 Met Gala, she went with Kanye and they both wore total black. I don't know if you remember, but they were completely covered, and that was a critique to fashion. But after this scandal surfaced and one of the books of this Michael artist was seen on the back of the photo, many people seeing this man's work realized it was very similar to the aesthetic Kim Kardashian was sporting. I'm going to show you a TikTok really fast if it works, but it's basically people literally comparing that art. This is one of the biggest inspirations for what she wore at the Met Gala. In several pictures she has, even the outfits she puts on her children are very similar to the work of that man who, as I've told you, has a very specific fixation for children. So many people start saying that maybe Kanye is not that crazy and he's been warning us and saying he doesn't want his children in this fashion world, in this industry, for there are very dark things behind. It seems like many of the things that Kanye said are apparently coming to light. He even spoke about that, about the Balenciaga scandal. He said, well, I told you so, this is something I knew was happening and this industry is very dark. Which is curious, even the mental disorder people were saying Kanye had. Maybe we can make a case about this later, you'll tell me. But basically something very similar happened back then with Jim Carrey, Chester Bennington, Joan Rivers, and a lot of people that were labeled as crazy when in reality they were telling the truth. I don't justify many things, for there are truly things Kanye says, and I'm like, this man is completely crazy. But there are other things in which I think he's right. And here comes the Kim Kardashian topic, for we were talking about her. It was a mess because she took a long time to say anything. She spent many days without talking about the topic, and then she ended up posting some stories and saying, I've been silent the last few days, not because I wasn't surprised and outraged about Balenciaga's recent campaigns, but because I wanted to have the chance to speak to the team to understand how this could have happened. As a mother of 4, the disturbing images have shocked me. The safety of children must be in the highest regard, and any attempt to normalize child abuse of any type must not be accepted in our society. I'm reevaluating my relationship with the brand, taking into account their willingness to accept responsibility for something that should never have happened. People criticized her a lot because she didn't clarify many things. She didn't say if she would work or not with them, and they saw her as very indecisive in her choice to be with the brand or not. In the end, she didn't say if she would remain with them or not, which is something very serious, for she has children too. People can't understand how someone who has children and knows that can accept for these things to happen. Obviously, many supported Kanye when he said why he wanted to keep his children away from the industry, and they criticized Kim for not wanting to get them away. And if she has millions of dollars in her account, why would she keep working with them? And here to close the video, although this part is a little long, but like to close all this fashion topic and all this that is happening there is a very shocking quote about this and says, "The media is not silent regarding children's sex trafficking because of children. They are silent because of the customers." Of course, the media is not talking about this, not because they are worried about the children, but because they prefer to remain silent for all the people that are behind consuming that. And the topic of children and the fashion industry has been happening since a long time ago. For example, Kate Moss, when she was younger than 18, when she was still a minor, was sexualized in one of Calvin Klein's campaigns. There are a lot of things regarding advertisings and things with connotations they really shouldn't have anything to do with children. It is even said that, and this is what I think, those brands have certain people in charge who are the face of the brand, but there are other elites who are much higher up, truly managing everything. And those are the people who create this kind of problems, whether it be for publicity or because that is why they are really after. There's even a topic that is quite interesting. I would have to talk longer about that at another some point, but it's about fashion and occultism, and how for so many years fashion had been very linked to occultism, to the esoteric things, to the topic and connotations that we talked about today. There have been many runways like that. For example, in 1944, Christian Dior did a runway related with all the esoteric topics and with all that symbology in his designs. It is said that many designers wear amulets, lucky charms, and protection things all the time. Even Jean-Paul Gaultier in 2007 created a runway inspired by the topic of virgins, but not only on the pure side, but also towards the dark occultism, the satanism, among other things. There are designs, magazine covers, photographs, everything related to this topic. Even in the Met Gala, when Jared Leto went and he was carrying his own head on one side, I don't know if you saw that, but that's also part of this topic about occultism and weird things in the fashion industry. There are many conspiracies regarding this Balenciaga affair. There are even people who think that it was probably some revenge of Kanye West. Maybe they didn't know the photos were going to be like that and he ended up posting them or paying people to do that. Now they, the photographers and everything, are being sued for $25 million. It's very complicated if they win and if they lose. Winning may be difficult because they're facing a multi-million-dollar company that is going to make everything in its power not to lose, but also they might win. Regarding what I think, I feel like there's no one that can come clean after this scandal. From the photographer, the man who mopped the floor, the one who edited the photo, and the one who posted it on social media. All of them are like a chain of people that, without a doubt, have serious mental issues. Especially the ones who produced the photos, the ones who directed how to shoot them, how to arrange everything, what was being posted, what the concept was. They're all very sick people. I don't know if fashion blinds them. Like they said, no, this is not right, or if they really do have some problems with these topics. I saw something very interesting, and it's that Balenciaga, for example, it's a high couture brand. And it's a brand that is not interested in reaching the low-medium income people, for they're not going to be consumers. They're really interested in people that have a lot of money. And it's very curious that a campaign for people with a lot of money revolves around children. So one can think about what people said about the high elites, that they probably consume that type of content. I mean, there's someone out there who belongs to an elite with a lot of money that said, I love it and I'm going to buy everything. And you know, we've talked about this many times, about the darkness inside these topics. But there is people who are interested in this. So probably Balenciaga created a huge scandal into the whole world, but the people that they need to be interested in buying it are actually buying it right now. So this is a very long discussion about the darkness regarding the high couture and the fashion world in general. Everything that is behind it is really disturbing. Some of us can understand it or we can imagine it, and I think it's a reality. For me, Balenciaga probably knew what they were doing, what they were getting into. They knew people were going to talk about them, but in the end, they met their goal. They only lost like 0.02% in the stock market, which is nothing for a scandal of this magnitude. Obviously, I'm going to show you here, but there were many videos and TikToks, which you are seeing right now, of people burning, trashing, and tearing their stuff, canceling Balenciaga. But they're only like the 0.1% of the people that consumes Balenciaga. I find it really disturbing and dark. I think I haven't felt this heavy feeling while researching this case since a long time ago. But it was important to talk about it because you probably see this because of Balenciaga, but according to rumors, Gucci owns Balenciaga, so there is something there too. There are many brands that own 1,000 things. It's awful that this happened, that this keep happening, that they are not talking much about it, and it seems like they're just riding the wave. I hope that we, even though we're not the main consumers, do cancel them and never again buy anything from them. But we still don't know how many other things are behind. But anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, a thumbs up, Comment what you feel about all this I've just talked to you about. Follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching me. Don't forget to follow your dreams, and I'll see you in the next one.